66. Yeah. It's no longer 65 books, it's 66 books. Because just today, I thought up yet another idea for a novella I want to write. No context to any of that. If you want more information on it, go watch the latter portion of the last video. Well, I'd recommend that you just watch however much you can of the last video, but for that bit, the ending half will do. So, where am I in the city of Laval today? I am in a neighborhood that is called, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Plage-Mon-Repos. Plage-Mon-Repos, I believe is how you pronounce it. And I've been here in this area for now technically 3 days. Maybe, I guess, well, no, technically 2.5, I guess, but in those 2.5 days, I've walked through the main center area of it, as well as mainly been sticking in the southern half of it. Mainly been sticking to this very wide public park that's, well, in the lower end of the community. But well, if you look behind me, or I guess more so beside me, you may take notice of certain building developments. And that's what I'll be exploring today. So, I have not gone down to the busier half of the southern portion of this neighborhood, which is a part of the St. Martin district, yet. I've specifically been saving that bit for, well, right now, today. But don't worry, today online I've done some research on at least, well, the main well, complex that is, I guess, the prize jewel of this area, most definitely as well for real estate value. But basically, okay, this neighborhood is incredibly, extensively wealthy. I'd say it's on par from, well, now my viewing of it, on par with, or maybe even a little bit more in terms of inhabitants of the area, a bit more upper class than even Vermont, close to Cité de la Santé. And as well, also in terms of corporate developments for land developers. And you'll see why in a second. And I'm actually gonna go make this loop around quick because I'm running later than I would have liked, but well, I got distracted when I was uploading the last video today, just down towards the main boulevard. So okay, so you know how I've said in the last few Exploring Laval videos that the city is very, well, very lax in terms of what I would consider to be pseudo-segregation of financial class, and also, well, various clearly targeted ethnic groups. Well, in this area, specifically this portion of Plage-Mon-Repos, not so much, considering right now I'm standing in a public park. And this is the park that I've spent a majority of my time in whilst being here the last 2 days, 2.5. And it might not seem like any sort of big ordeal, but, well, once I show you just from building structure alone, once I show you the this certain apartment slash recreational slash entertainment complex that's on the mainland of Jesus Island, or on the landmass of Jesus Island, well, I think you'll be able to tell what I'm talking about. As well, well, I should actually, and I meant to state this in my one of the two last Exploring Laval videos, part 5 or part 6. I was initially planning on doing it in part 5, and then that didn't happen. So I thought, okay, I'll talk about it in part 6, but that didn't happen, as it slipped my memory. But I'll talk about it here. So, going through St. Martin, it's very clearly, so the main racial groups that have taken up housing in that area, or in terms of purchasing a housing space, have had no other options available to them. It's predominantly, and also with the various businesses around, it's predominantly of Arab, Persian, Southern African Black, as well as West African, and also Sub-Saharan Black culture, as well as a fair amount of Hispanic people there, and Turkish as well, Turk. And in terms of branching off into European ethnic groups that could be considered still technically white, as well as there's a high amount of Indigenous Canadian groups, people of different tribal groups living within the district, as well as, like I was going to mention, Portuguese, a high amount of Portuguese living within St. Martin, as well as lower income, a certain amount of lower income Quebecois, but also, interestingly enough, those of high amount of Anglo-Saxon residents, English-speaking Anglo-Saxon residents, actually. And I'll talk about that more in a bit. Oh, and there's also apparently, which I hadn't taken notice of my first time being in St. Martin, a high populace of Armenians living there as well. And in terms of the downtown area, which is right next to St. Martin, well, I think you can guess it's, in terms of residency, predominantly Quebecois, higher class Quebecois. So, white. Very, very white in terms of race or racial group. And in terms of this neighborhood, up towards the main boulevard, from what I've noticed, which is called Sampson Boulevard, as well as there's one called Levesque, I believe, Levesque West, that runs all the way to the other end of Laval through the southern half. Well, for a good ways through, it gets into a mix of, well, lower middle class to then some amount of upper middle class, with not really. There's certain areas more towards Chomedy that have, I guess it seems to be those, or at least townhomes that are more catered to a standardized middle class living in terms of income. But over here it seems to be more so just a direct mix between very much lower income and those teetering on higher end wealth in the middle class. But in the entire southern half here, along behind this row of trees, very much it is upper middle class to high end wealth. Very, very rich. But, so elites, obviously. But, well, all of that pales in comparison to this section of Plage-Mon-Repos. Just from what I've researched alone, and from my obvious observations in the last 2.5 days. So, over here, like I said, this main complex is on the main landmass of Jesus Island. But there's two separate islands, smaller islands, with housing units, condos, on them that are right bordering this section of the island, of Jesus Island. And they're connected via bridges. And, well, this park, unlike most of the rest of Laval that I've been to, very much, as far as I'm concerned, acts as a deterrent method and just general, in terms of communal, in terms of, well, suburbanism, or, well, over ways, post-suburbanism, the structuring of the communities in terms of business placement and housing arrangements, well, yeah, it's very much separated, and I believe for the purposes of separation. But, let me actually give you a look at this palace of a place. Because, so if you recall back to Exploring Laval Part 3, in the title and what I showcased, I referred to a lot of the housing developments that were situated right next to the public hospital as suburban wannabe European castles. More of medieval or Romanian, Moldovan Gothic, old style castle-like structures or architecture in terms of design. Well, if you're in agreement with me and you thought that was ridiculous, well, suburb wannabe castles? Try suburb wannabe fortress. Look at this place. Yeah. This isn't a castle. This is a fortress. This isn't a, or is it's labeled, I guess, just an all-inclusive entertainment center in the lower half, and then, well, on this end of, well, the mainland for these complexes, an apartment building, not an apartment, a fortress and a palace. That's what this is. So, okay, since the actual, I think, from what I looked up, the entertainment center of this complex closes at 5 and it's now currently 4:38 p.m. I'm gonna actually get walking this way as I talk. So, this place is called Hugh Paton Complex. And one of the islands, the one with that other, well, you can't see behind the trees now, one with a majority of the condo buildings, that island is called Paton Island, or Isle Paton. And, well, from everything, and I'm sleeping behind this place over, so I don't know if you can see it from here, but over there's a break in the fence, which is at the edge of Jesus Island, right at the Prairies River. I'm sleeping in the forest back there on what I think might be just a little enclave. Is it an enclave? It's not a peninsula. A little strip of land that isn't technically connected. It's connected, but there's a creek running through it that divides it from the rest of the park area. But anyway, so this section, I want to go in and find out what's on this side of the complex, because this section here, from everything I could tell, there is no reason, okay, and even just in general, from my ideological beliefs, there's no reason for this ginormous wall. It's not half of it. It isn't even some sort of lookout area. It's a wall. It's just a solid brick wall, as if it's a fortress wall. It's literally built like a fortress wall. And we have these, well, I guess what I'm seeing now, this row of trees. It's meant to just, I guess, keep anyone walking along here just sticking to the main roadway. Again, as a deterrent. But, point being, I want to know what's in there, because my only guesses are that, not just for the obvious fact that it's, from what I'll explain in a sec, a deterrent. It's meant to keep, well, the residents of this place separate from the rest of the community up that way, or anyone passing through. Oh, and what do you know? Here, a pointless fucking stone divider. There's no reason for this. Not only is it just for that, but, well, it's obviously just for that, but I'm wondering if in there is some sort of high-powered generating room for, well, electrical generator of some kind. Possibly providing a lot of power to the complex and maybe to surrounding units that are a part of the same real estate owner's property. Maybe this building right next to it. Because, holy shit. Because in relation to that, I don't know why this end of the building is so solid. Why there's no lookout area. Like, see, on this end, this face of this portion of the building has a clock tower, and it has various windows adorning it. Well, the back end doesn't at all. As if you can't even really access that area. And in regards to that, the other day, when I was done filming, well, my video of me telling just various stories from my travels so far, mainly relating to Ontario, I went to the back end of this area, of this building, and there's a little path that is, I guess, just a walking area for a lot of people from the park, because people can get into the little section of land that I'm on, and they walk through it in the daytime, I guess, quite frequently. But you can get back there somewhat. Not so much on their property, even though there's a break in the fence, which I'm obviously going to try and go onto. But if you go back that way, you can walk along a little path, and I noticed this, well, the walls here extend this high, the same amount as what's right here, in terms of elevation. Same amount of length for that end. And this little walkway up here, well, it's highly, obviously it's kept away from the path. Now the path doesn't extend long, at least from what I could find, but it's just another, as far as I'm concerned, and it's definitely not for any sort of flooding. From everything I've looked up, this area does not, the Prairie East River doesn't tend to flood very much. At least not in terms of a common, it's not a common environmental occurrence in the area that the river actually floods rapidly. So, it's very clearly for separation. But enough dilly-dallying, because I only have 15 minutes to actually go inside. I'll explain more about, well, the name of this place and from what I've researched of its construction in a bit. But for now, let's go inside. Alright, so that didn't work out. And you know what? Normally, I would try, to some degree, maybe see if there was another entry point that wasn't, well, with my mindset at this point, I would try to find an access point that was not accessible legally to those who are not of the private estate. But, well, in terms of just the perimeter, I'm not seeing any actual way that's, well, viable for me to get in through without being noticed very easily. At least not in the daytime. So instead, I'll explain what I've researched about the actual complex. And we're also going to continue down along here, just to the next island. So, I was interested, well, obviously just with noticing on Google Maps that the complex was named after a person, Hugh Paton. So I figured, okay, this has to have some relevance to the company or the founder of the place, or the company that owns it, potentially. And obviously it does. So Hugh Paton apparently was a Scottish business entrepreneur who immigrated to Canada in, I believe it was 1861. I believe. No, couldn't have been. No, maybe. No, I think it was the 1860s, definitely, at the time of the actual, well, formation of Canada as a country, with the Dominion of Canada, as an autonomous state of England and the English Commonwealth. But they apparently were big in the he was apparently big in the railroad industry. When he came to Canada, he got promoted, I believe, through means that I don't know, to, yep, this is Island Paton. Let's go this way. He got promoted to chief executive of the company and was also an advisory board member to Bell Telephone Company, so Bell, network provider now, as well as there was another one. There was one that was actually, I believe, a real estate company. Oh, God, it's hot out. It's very hot today, and I don't remember the rest of the companies, but they were some of the biggest in Canada at the time, specifically Quebec, because he was centered in Montreal. And, well, they were growing exponentially because, you know, transition out of pseudo-capitalism into ultra-capitalism. But basically, he had various deals and involvements with high-end companies that were growing in terms of privatization and just financial amalgamation during his time. And I believe it was around 1880, he purchased this plot of land, which he then, so this was actually, he purchased this plot of land, and this was his home, according to what I read. This is where his house was situated. And then, somewhere along the lines, it was once after, I believe after his death, the home was transferred out of, well, his estate's hands to possibly someone who was an executive of one of the companies that he had various involvements with, possibly one of the railroad company that he initially worked for. And from there, I guess, through various Okay. Through various... I'm going to walk over to this portion of the roadway. Through various deals, I guess, with real estate agencies and development contractors, well, whoever had rights to this area of land after his death, clearly, they've been busy. That's very clear. And, long story short, this apartment slash entertainment festivity center, I guess would be a better word for it, came to fruition. And, well, the rest is history of this area, and it has become very, very, very desirable by those of elitist wealth factions. And I obviously don't doubt those within high-ranking political standing within the Laval municipal government, and also probably the Montreal municipal government and Longueuil municipal government. No doubt. But in terms of just architecture, for the most part, it's damn beautiful. Excuse me. Minus the, well, excessive an extent of, well, histrionic flashiness, or attention seeking as well. More so on the actual main Hugh Paton complex, as I just showcased, but to a lesser extent around here. I wouldn't say, from what I'm seeing right now, as much as the ultra-rich areas of, well, neighborhoods in Vermont, but still very much present. Okay. Well, we're already off to a great start. This video is not going how I initially was hoping to record it. Okay, I'm just gonna sit and compose myself for a second. Well, oh, where'd they go? Oh, damn, did you go on? Ah, there you are. Seems I've made a little spider friend. Just going on a little adventure through my arm here. I think they're a little jumping spider. I can't really get them in focus at this angle. Maybe that'll be better if I can actually ever put this into focus. And if they would ever stop running like mad. Oh god. Okay, no. Okay. Can I? Oh well. I've never seen, I don't think I've actually ever seen a jumping spider secrete web. I don't know if they can. The smaller ones, that is. They're common in North America. I don't know. Okay. Alright, so apparently, I don't know if you can see it, but they do secrete web. I didn't mean to flick them hard. It's just, I flicked them off my hand a bit. Oh, getting carried with the wind. Wow, this is extending a long way. Okay. Sorry. Okay, damn. Okay, I don't want them to fall hard. Shit. Okay, hopefully they didn't go too far onto the road. I think it just went to the edge of the sidewalk. Well, okay. Well, gained a bit of a lesson in, study of insects. Etymology. I gained a bit of knowledge in etymology. Right there. So, yeah, okay. Apparently tiny jumping spiders can secrete web. Okay. I don't know if that information will ever come in handy to me, but now I have it, so that's another one for the prefrontal cortex. Well, this is strange. Well, as I was sitting on this bench, I just got a waft of apathy. And, well, I don't know why. Just all of a sudden I started feeling very, very upset. Like, I didn't get any sort of terrible news through text or call, or nobody said anything that I would have considered spiteful or dehumanizing towards me. I just started feeling overwhelmed. And once again, I know why. I on a fundamental level, I know why. Some external and in relation to that internal stimuli, or, well, conflicting stimuli, is disrupting my conscious sense for a responsive motivation. And thus something's disrupting my 5 subconscious desires and my willingness. So that's leading to the apathetic response. It's just, I don't know what it is. I'm experiencing and just right now I'm feeling very lethargic. In this regard, it's definitely from psychomotor impairment. I was gonna go around and actually explore this island and the next one today, but no, I don't have it in me right now. My thoughts are just very scattered. Okay, you know what? We'll try again tomorrow. Well, let's hope this cheers me up somewhat. Don't worry, I'm feeling a lot better now. But, well, what's on the menu tonight? Tomato soup with spicy tuna flakes. So, just gonna cook them in my South Korean wok. And, yeah, just go from there. Oh, I guess we'll just showcase this. Very beautiful view. Minus, well, you know. Oh, you're getting big. Okay, you're getting very big. You know what? I'm gonna try and control you. Oh, it's looking pretty good, I guess, if I do say so myself. But so the fire. I don't know if you can tell, it's died down, and I'm just trying to heat it over the ash, which is technically what you're supposed to do in most cases for heating food in this style of cooking. But well, I'm noticing, I guess, or I was earlier, the spicy oil that the tuna was in is well, the tomato soup paste is a bit hydrophobic to it, because it's kind of, yeah, right there, it's kind of spreading away from it. But, well, I don't think it'll have much of an effect on how it tastes, but, well, I'll let you know afterwards. Yep, it's very good. It's very, very spicy. I underestimated how powerful that oil was. Damn. Well, at least something better came out of this day. But as for Isle Paton and Isle Tremblay, which is the one next to it, and the complex itself, tomorrow. So I decided to take the time this morning to clean out my cooler, because, well, after withstanding some rainfall over the course of the last month or so since I left Ottawa, it's gathered up some rust in it and some, well, just grease. So I was gonna clean it off, and I did so. I dragged it down to where I had my little cookout last night, and then I went back here just to gather my things up to go back, well, over here. And I was only gone for maybe like 8 or 9 minutes, and well, all of these guys showed up. Yeah. God, wow. Oh, you two have been busy. Lots of children. The cans of spicy sardines and dragon tooth fish might have attracted them. But well, sorry to interrupt your little family get-together, but I just hope you don't try and invade my cooler in any sort of way. And by that I mean if you shit or piss in it. I would hope not. Okay. Alright, I'm just gonna clean this and then head back to the complex. Alright, a correction on my part from what I said in the last clip I showed of the outside of this palace apartment entertainment center. There are actually, my mistake, there are some windows on the upper level of this section of the complex. I hadn't taken much notice of them, I guess, all the other times that I've been walking in this portion of the public park. So, yeah, just a correction there. However, obviously I wasn't wrong about the fact that there are no windows on, well, the large, extraordinarily large walls end of it, and also there are no windows along this tower here, and, well, the northern end face of the wall. So, just my mistake there. But since now it's earlier, well, it's an hour before the afternoon takes place. This, from what the attendant told me yesterday, it should be open to the public. So, I will try this again. Also, I did a bit more looking at satellite maps, and these buildings here also seem to be owned up by whatever the land developers or whoever owns the estate and real estate property for the Hugh Paton complex, because these apartment buildings, which are very much also extensively owned by extensively wealthy tenants. Well, they're called, I believe, Le Village Paton. Village Paton is in there right now, but so, well, either they're just naming it that because, or whoever the owners of the apartment complex here, or these sets of buildings, whoever the owners of the property are and runners of the actual buildings, either they just named it that because of its closer proximity to the Hugh Paton complex, or it's actually owned up by the same company. Anyway, enough chit chat for this portion of the video. Let's go inside. Paton? Area?
Okay. It's to see someone?
No, to just look around and take some photographs for the template. Because I went to the that area yesterday, and one of the attendants told me that I have to come back between 9 and 5 p.m.
Okay.
Just for go over it.
Okay, well, I'll bring you to the administration.
Okay.
And they can show you around.
All right.
Okay. You're a student?
No. Just a bit of a traveler.
Oh, traveler. And how did you find this place?
Just looking around and exploring the area.
Okay.
Saw a couple of things.
And what's your interest?
I guess just in the history of the place and scenery and stuff.
Okay. And you wanted to take pictures inside?
Well, I guess the view.
Okay. Where are you from?
I'm initially from Toronto.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Thanks.
Nice.
I have relatives in Mississauga.
Nice.
Maybe you. What's your name?
Ken.
Ken? Okay.
Hi, I'm just a bit of a tourist in the local area, and I was wondering if I was able to, considering I looked up and it said the Hugh Center was open to the public at a certain time. I came by yesterday to ask one of the attendants. I got into a conversation with them, and they said I have to come back between 9 and 5.
What do you want to visit?
Just see some local scenery around it, and just the view, I guess, from the back area.
I didn't understand. Do you want to visit somebody or
No, just general tour of the place, or so.
or what?
Just for scenery.
Right, you wanted to take pictures. Did you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
As well.
No.
Oh, not
If
of
it's-
inside.
No.
Wait. Oh, okay. I thought it was really the more the scenery outdoors.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean.
That's what
Outdoors,
you
but
mean.
More of like a.
No, not, no, it's not possible.
Okay. Is
No,
there
no, I don't think they will accept.
is there an area in here that is accessible to the public? Is there an area in here that is accessible to the public from 9 to 5?
Juste celle de ton, je l'accompagne.
No, not the plan. We cannot take photos.
Oh, I don't need to take photos.
Oh.
It's fine. If not, I'd just be fun to.
For what you want to visit, I don't understand.
Just for seeing the place, it looks rather nice.
No, it's here for senior person and not like to visit for one. No, I don't think the person who is in charge will accept.
All right, that's okay. Thank you.
C'est gênant quand on
Faut sortir au électricité.
Bonjour Carole.
Okay.
Thank you for trying it.
Wow. If you follow the scenery, I can bring you on the deck. That's the furthest I can go.
Okay. And if you're
Is
fine
that
with
okay?
Oh, that's all right.
Because I live on that level, so I can say you're company.
That's okay.
We just finished playing pickleball. Have you ever heard of it?
I believe I've heard of it, but I don't know much of the
Oh. I thought maybe we were there for it, because sometimes we have caterers that come in and have nice caterers rent that place.
I heard even Center Point's service there. I've heard of that.
Yes, it is. We have reception hall, reading. People rent the hall for, I think it was a first communion or something.
Oui, c'est vous qui Oui, j'ai le show du Dr. O. Je me suis branché le matin 20 minutes.
Ok.
Après ça, j'ai mis sur la place. Il est pour ça,
C'est mieux. Tant mieux.
Hey, bonne journée, je t'inquiète pour moi.
I hope they won't send anyone. I'm taking a choice.
Do they not typically allow those visiting
to look around. I think they don't have that very often.
So I guess cautious of privacy?
Privacy and for, you know, security of all these seniors that live here. And all the people that live around, as soon as they see a stranger, they like
Get a
go
little
berserk. Do you have a car? Or,
no, no.
oh yeah.
Maybe that one. So,
Kind of warm. Okay.
it's not here yet. Not a good imagine.
Our deck.
Very pretty.
Oh, it's very We have volunteer gardeners.
Maybe old people here with like high school volunteers or
No. It's seniors that live here. They well, they love gardening, first of all, which I don't. So, but they work a lot.
very good job.
And it smells of lavender. We have another pool. It's not ready yet.
Is it specifically more of a retirement center or
Sorry?
just is it specifically more of a retirement center or
Yeah.
oh it is
Well, look, it's some people still work, but as long as they're 55 or over, and no pets allowed. We have the river. A lot of accommodations for the just be careful.
a bit of renovation.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's Rivière des Prairies. So on the other side, it's Montreal. So we're real close to it.
I've only been in Laval so far.
Oh, yeah?
I haven't really seen much of from where I've
Montreal.
been.
Okay.
Been able to see much of Montreal Island over. Oh, this is very nice. Is this sort of a duly owned area, the complex, all these various buildings on the island?
Yeah,
Nice.
there's a real nice building. Well, you can see it.
Yes.
That is, those are condos.
Ah.
Those are really nice. But you're not, they're about $1 million and over.
No. Oh, they do look quite nice.
Some people are lucky to have two balconies. The apartments on this
So the balconies are just connected to one apartment.
Yeah. Look.
Oh, not gonna lie.
Oh, it's almost like a resort. Like,
Okay, not like it. Oh, I didn't even realize that.
no. Something down to the ground level.
Absolutely.
Another part of the
Curiosity, that section of the complex with the clock tower, is that one of the reception halls?
over there? Oh yeah, but that's that's where we just came from.
Oh, well, that's where the.
That's the summit.
Ah, okay.
It's not, well, it's kind of detached, but we have the domes that unite the two buildings.
So it's just that building that's the big mountain.
Yeah,
Ah,
these are really residential. Over there. So I'm living on this floor level. You know, we have more of a, well, we have access to everything without having to take the elevator.
oh, it's very convenient. Ah, yes, just walking along this part here. Doing this one here, this probably be on the same top there.
That's another,
That's alright.
but those aren't really for senior citizens. Not, well, not only for senior citizens. They have, they can have families and some are location, rental, and some are, they bought the condos.
Ah. Nice.
I guess you wanted to visit more the
Well,
building, or
I was just wondering any part that I guess was accessible to the public for view. I didn't know that that was only considered the development center.
yeah.
Need both, they are.
Well, you're welcome. So, anyways, have a nice visit around.
Thank you.
What's your next move?
Well, I guess just exploring a bit more of these islands over here.
Okay. Just, well, there's a bridge on your left. There's a bridge, and on the other side of the bridge, it's in Paton. I don't know if there's something that's that you'd like to visit, but anyways, just to let you know.
Well, I'm sure I could find something, and I certainly hope I don't get in trouble for
Oh.
taking me through.
As long as, no, you know, everything's okay. Even if someone saw you, I was accompanied. You know, you weren't alone,
Yeah.
so.
What's your name, Masha? Nice to meet you.
Okay,
Well,
so have a nice time.
you too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good day.
As-tu nous as visité?
Non.
Pourquoi il y a un petit chalet? C'est une nouvelle année.
Inside, and I guess a bit more understanding of it. Well, that was an interesting little venture, and well, in terms of going through with them, it went better than I expected. So, now I know a bit more about the Hugh Paton complex, and one of those things being that the section of the complex that was, well, from the park view is what appeared to be that fortress-esque structure. That's actually the Hugh Paton Center. So that's where apparently, at least going off of what they told me, if that is correct, it seems to be where they host a lot of the, well, community events, or rented out events. Like they said that I believe a communion might have happened there just last weekend. And I know there was also an event that happened last night because the attendant told me that it was rented out for the day. So that smaller building, other half of the complex, is the Hugh Paton Center. But those apartments, they're part of the complex, but they're a separate, well, division of it, basically. But, well, now I know at least it's not necessarily a retirement center. It's, well, segregated based on age. It's available for leasing space for only those who are over 50 years old. So, that's interesting. I can make a guess as to why, considering it very much caters to ultra elites. probably from those who are the administrators of the actual apartments for the Paton complex. Well, probably the policy is there because they might think that, well, retired elitists will have a boatload more of wealth. They won't be putting any amount of their spending into maintaining whatever mega corporations they're affiliated with or their business ventures. But, well, as for the person who took me through, they were very nice, incredibly nice, and they seem to be, on a psychological basis, more reserved, a bit anxious, but a bit more flustered, but generally more reserved and I guess distal, more disjointed in thought, and a bit uncertain of certain things. But obviously that's alright. It's not an insult in any way towards them. However, in terms of, well, taking up residency there, and very obvious, well, certain amounts of jewelry, I noticed that they had they definitely obviously have the financial means to be staying in said complex. So they are, it's fair to say that they are an elitist as well. But for them, sadly, it seemed that, well, from our short interaction, it seemed that, well, maybe they had a bit of an anxiety or disorder, or were more prone to anxiousness. But in terms of contributing to this, I'd say that for them it seemed more to be on the grounds of indoctrination rather than psychological illness, which, you know my whole spiel about that. But now I'm back where I was, the bench there, yesterday. A whole boatload of conscious motivation today. So, this is Paton Island. And as our previous humble narrator told to us, well, this island is also massively wealthy and is filled to the brim with various condominiums. And also, as you can tell, smaller condo buildings. They're littered all over the shoreline of the island. And in regards to, here, let me flip the camera. They seem to be quite fond of that building over there when they were pointing it out to me. Now, these three buildings, just from a map view and also just from what I've been able to see from my campsite on the, well, out on Jesus Island, these three have intrigued me quite a bit in terms of property structure. So I think I'll spend my time just seeing if it's possible to access the property through, well, provisional terms. And if not, well, I think there's a trail at the edge of this island that can take me around to the lower half so I can get at least a bit more of a view of the back end living quarters whilst being on the actual island's landmass. So, let me attempt to see about getting to the top of this condo here first, and we'll see how that goes. Le Heritage 4450. Yeah, that doesn't seem like it's implying, well, nepotist beliefs at all.
English?
Oh, yes.
Yes. How can I help you?
Hi. Sorry to bother you, but I was just wondering. I'm a bit of a tourist of the local area, and I've just been going around this section of, I believe this area is called Plage-Mon-Repos.
This is a little island called Paton.
Paton, and I was just wondering if it would be possible to maybe get some scenery shots of the floor here, just out of the prairies over.
Unfortunately, I couldn't. No. Well, I mean, it's a bit complicated because actually all floors are private, so that means that there's no common areas or any access. You'd have to have an access to it directly. And even then, the people here are very reserved and private, so they'd rather not have snooping around taking photos. So I'm sorry about that. I respect the hustle, but maybe somewhere else.
That's okay.
All right. Thank you.
Good night. closing themselves off from the general public because most of them are highly antisocial as far as I'm concerned. Very,
Speaking English, I'm better in French.
okay. Is this building part of the same property as the condo over there? Just off to the side. Ah, okay. Well, for me, out of curiosity, I was just wondering, I'm a bit of a local tourist to the area, and I've just today been going around to try and explore this island, and I was wondering if it was possible to get a bit of a scenic view just from somewhere along the road.
Ouais, mais pour le visit, les gens de Portillo, sur le dodo, l'Internet, installé dans une œuvre.
Oh, sorry, I don't think I heard you before at all.
Puis je peux t'amener you have a friend here or?
No, just a tourist.
Just recently and people here. Really cool. You have no location. The same for this building.
Okay. Is there by chance a building on the island that may allow for a general tourist?
No, not here. No.
That's okay.
See, in English I don't have exact term, c'est privé ici.
Private?
Privé.
Understandable. Okay. That's it.
I have a good day.
Okay.
keep on.
Alright, so just to quickly get this out of the way. So, you know how in the last clip, not last clip, the clips from the previous day, the last day, I showcased the very open, very wide-ranging public park, which I believe is called Bouthamain de Tremblay Park, and how, well, I discussed it's often during the weekends, it seems, and, well, the latter half of the weekdays, mainly taken up by those coming from the main boulevard, Samson Boulevard, running through Plage-Mon-Repos, which happens to be of very much lower class, and those of various non-white ethnic groups, but some amount of lower income Quebecois. Well, I discussed specifically how I believe that park was very clearly given the high-end value and luxury locale of, and, well, design of the Hugh Paton complex, how it was very much pushed far off in terms of, and also this island, it's very much pushed off from the rest of the community via the park. Well, for those of you who may have doubt as to that being true in means of pseudo-segregation, look at this. I don't know what you say, but this here. This is a, well, playset. And not just a playset, a lounge area. Seems to be, I guess, maybe a field set up for croquet, but then again, I've seen a few of these in some of the, well, in more communally available public play areas and parks, as well as a large, completely hedge surrounded and fenced in tennis court with, it seems as well, a nice shady gazebo type building right in the center. So you might be thinking, yeah, it's a public park for the residents of the island, what's the big deal? Well, in my regards, bonjour. The way it appears to me, okay, this area, this island, Paton Island, and all its residential, ultra-rich homes, there is no need to put a park like this smack in the center of it. Given the fact that if you saw me walking across the bridge in the clips I shot yesterday, Paton Tremblay Park is no more than at least a 10-minute walk away. 10 to 11 minute or 12-minute walk from here. It's not a far distance at all. In terms of driving, with the vast array of highly expensive vehicles that are taking up space in this area, well, it'd be at least 3 or 4 minutes away. It's not far, not a far distance at all. And that park is vastly bigger and vastly more open, with mass amounts of grass patches, with picnic benches and, well, soccer fields, just general sports fields, and just outdoor activity areas than say this park here. So as far as I'm concerned, this park being here, if it wasn't for well, pseudo segregation purposes, given the fact that it's also clearly not public, as you can tell, there's a lockable gate, and quite literally it has an automatic key card operated deadlock, which I'm assuming some whatever organization, municipal or private organization, owns up this park. They come in every morning to just unlock the gates. Well, probably and most likely bought up by the development and real estate company or companies that oversee good old Hugh Paton's former land estate. But yeah, there's no need for this to be here. It's very nice, very well built. I'm not complaining about the design very much, but it's not needed given the fact that you already have a ginormous park where all of this could have easily as well been placed in terms of design and built over there. So I just thought I'd take a moment to point that out. Yep, well, not municipally owned or operated. It's a private park. It's hours and also hours of operation for the tennis courts. Parc Recreatif Paton Inc. Okay, you must be, well, the executive company that owns up the land around here, and it's possibly the head corporation for all operations of, well, any living residents that are in affiliation to the privatized land on Hugh Paton's former private property. I'll have to find out more about you. Well, you are a very pretty jumping spider, and a very big one at that. Let's hope we can get you in focus a bit. Somewhat. If I can try. Whoa! Okay, you're coming into focus, I guess, there. Oh, there you go. Very soft. See, I know this might be terrifying. Oh, you're getting a little high up. Switch hands. Oh, I'm so sorry. Started falling off there for a sec. Look, I know there are many people who are arachnophobic, who are terrified of spiders, and, well, that's because most often of a traumatic incident that has created a pathological phobia. Oh, I'm having a bit of a hard time going up my arm here. But, one, if a spider does bite you, as far as I'm concerned, it's just going about its natural defense mechanism. I mean, you're a much bigger being than it, in most cases, depending on what well, species of spider you're holding, or that comes into contact with you. But at the end of the day, they're just doing what they instinctually know how to do. And this one, though it has rather, well, its mandibles aren't humongous, but well, seem very comfortable with me at this point. Oh, yeah, you're a jumping spider. Like, they're hopping around quite a bit. Hey, maybe you're the parent of the other fella that was on me yesterday. Just get you going back the other way. They're spinning a web all across me. I can feel them secreting it. You're very, very pretty. Okay, well, I think I'm gonna let you down here. You can go. There you go. Now I'm gonna try and slowly break your web because I don't want to drag you off of the wooden plank. Okay. Oh. That was a very nice little interaction. Have a good day, Charlotte. Okay, I just charged up my devices under this little canopy here, and I also had a phone call with one of my friends in Toronto, which I was happy to hear from them. But well, okay, so deducing this logically, I'm most likely not going to be able to actually fully access any of these buildings, but I'm going to try, as I'm just going to showcase the island and talk a bit more. But I'm going to try one more attempt at a building down a ways, which apparently has a pharmacy branch in it. But I just thought I'd stop here as well, just to quickly showcase. Apparently the park here, this half of the privately owned park, has a history of, well, Hugh Paton himself and his residence. That was, well, where the Hugh Paton complex now stands, on Jesus Island. So, and obviously it's in Quebecois French, so I can't read it. Oh, well. Well, something in here says bourgeoisie. Well, or bourgeoisie. Not the German variant of, well, ultra elites. Yeah, I don't think you, from everything I've researched about you, you don't have much good to say about mass amalgamation of financial wealth. And here's just an aerial view of, well, the islands. But if any of you speak or understand Quebecois French, I'll just let you pause and read over that, as well as here, I guess. Get a shot of that. Okay, so if you understand what it was saying, you can pause and read it. Okay. So, actually, in regards to Quebecois French, I just a couple days ago was taught a very good lesson. So, a couple days ago, I was on a phone call with my sibling back in Toronto. I just wanted to talk to them and catch up because I haven't directly called them in a little while. And there was a point where I had to, during the call, I had to interrupt it just to, because someone a local person from the area in where I am, Laval, was trying to speak to me. So I just said, bonjour, je m'appelle pas Francis anglais. You know, as I had thought, in Quebecois French is how you say I don't speak French, English. And then after that little interaction concluded, my sibling said, was that you speaking French? And I was like, yeah. Since when? And they were like, since when did you learn how to speak French? And I was like, oh, I don't know any Quebecois French other than that. Those are just the phrases, like just some general phrases I've learnt just to help me get by in, well, communication. And we got into talks about how, because there I mentioned in exploring Ottawa part 1 that my sibling, as far as I'm concerned and what we talked about with their knowledge of the language, they definitely count as a passive speaker of Quebecois French, not Parisian French. But that's the thing, is they said, wait, how did you say, I forget exactly how they phrased it, but like, how did you say I don't speak French? And I was like, je m'appelle pas Francis. And they're like, well, that's not correct. I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, it's je suis ne pas Francis, or yeah, je suis. No, wait, fuck. What am I doing? Okay, was confusing that bit of the language as well. It was je ne sais pas. Je ne sais pas Francis. Anglais. Je ne sais pas Francis is how you say I don't speak French in Quebecois French. And after they told me this, they looked it up to make sure that they were telling me this correctly. And I also later did, somewhat, when I was in Wi-Fi. And they were right. And that makes so much more sense now. Because every time here in Quebec that I've said je m'appelle pas Francis, which is I don't speak French in European French, Franco-French, most people have looked at me like and gone, Paton? Or they're like, I don't understand in Quebecois French, and then they're like, and then I often resort to just saying "nous Francis anglais." They're like, Francis? And I was like, no, no Francis, no French, or "nous Francis Quebecois." And then if they know English, then they would most often have reverted to English or switched to English. And I never knew that, and that makes so much, and from what I had looked up was wrong. I had looked up how to say it in Franco-French when I was practicing for the last few months that I was living in Ottawa. And yeah, so, but je ne comprends pas is still common here in Quebec. That's also a common way to say I don't comprehend or I don't understand for French. But yeah, I'm gonna have to memorize that. So my sibling sent me just over text just how to say it properly. Je ne sais pas Francis, or I'll just say je ne sais pas Francis Québécois anglais. So yeah, I never knew that, and for this whole time I have been speaking the wrong language, a wrong variant of a language family. As well, Franco-French, yeah, it's the lexifier of Quebecois French, but well, they are different, and that's one of the differences. So yeah, I didn't know that, and I'm glad they told me that, because I actually tried it. When I was in Wi-Fi, someone asked me, apparently they were asking me in Quebecois French if I had a pen, and I tried it and I said, je ne sais pas Francis anglais, and they immediately, without even going like, what are you saying? or Paton, they immediately went, "Oh, sorry, you speak English? Do you have a pen?" And I was like, "No, unfortunately I don't." And they were like, "Well, that's all right, thanks." I was like, there we go. Now people actually fluidly understand what I'm trying to express vocally. That makes, oh God. Well, I gotta memorize that because that's gonna save me on a lot of potential issues. So, to my sibling, thank you so much for that. Bit of a Québécois French lesson. Okay, so where I am now is, as you've noticed probably, I've crossed over another bridge. I am now off Paton Island and on Tremblay Island, or Island of Tremblay. I have no clue if this is named after a particular person, because, well, the park on the mainland of Jesus Island, right by the Hugh Paton complex, well, it shares a name to some degree. Well, Tremblay. And just the same as Paton Island and the complex, it's a luxury elitist paradise. But in terms of buildings, as I said, I might be able to access one of them to some degree, as one of these well, condos has, at least if Google Maps is correct, has a pharmacy in it. Now, I don't know if that's right here, or, well, actually, I think it is this cluster of buildings. So, try down this way. What I'm gonna do is, I've shifted my planning a bit. I'm going to just showcase the rest of this island on foot. Then I'm gonna go into, well, the main section of Plage-Mon-Repos, and then just charge up my devices more than what they're at now, and get something to eat, and then come back closer to nightfall, and also showcase, as I'm coming back here, I'm going to showcase the surrounding neighborhoods in the southern half of this portion of Laval, around that typically surround the large park where I've been camped at. So I'll showcase that, and then I'll do what I was hopefully planning on doing, and that being, well, finding out if I can actually get onto the shoreline of either Paton Island or, well, Tremblay Island. Okay. So, oh, here's another thing though I should mention as I'm walking through here. I also saw on the maps that apparently there's an organization in one of these complexes, I think it is here on Tremblay Island, that identifies themselves, it's in Québécois French, but they call themselves les Résidents Philanthropistes, basically philanthropists. Yeah, I don't at all consider these people to be genuine philanthropists in terms of amalgamation of mass wealth. If they do, if that organization does actually donate a portion, and I mean a portion of their financial earnings, to causes and organizations to aid those of lower income or those who are systematically and systemically oppressed, to whatever degree, maybe out of this, well, if many have, say, a mental savior complex. Well, yeah, you're not doing a bang-up job as far as I'm concerned. Your ideals of, oh, I'm a mega capitalist aristocrat, but I'll be doing a good deed morally by contributing my earnings that I've amalgamated to an excessive extent to whatever causes I choose to support, if they're for those who are struggling in whatever way, whether it be financial class, racial disparity, sexual oppression, religious freedoms or oppression or freedom of religious practice and belief, gender inequalities, food shortages, whatever else. Well, I don't think it's the cognitive dissonance is very large. Okay, well, just thought I'd highlight that. It's in one of these buildings, I believe, the organization. I don't know which one, and I'm not even going to attempt to find out more about them. I don't have the energy right now. Okay. What's this place called? Whoa, that's an odd camera effect. Okay. I don't know if you're picking up on some exhaust from one of these vehicles. Havre de Isle Apartments. Okay. Apartments that are on this island. I think that's just generally what it's stating. Okay, let's see if I can try and find that pharmacy. And from there, if I can actually further access one of these condominiums.
Tu ne sais pas français, anglais?
Sure.
Sorry to bother you. I was just wondering. I saw not that there may be a pharmacy located in one of these buildings.
Pharmacy, no, we have depanneur, we have hair salon.
Ah, okay. Do you know if there's any other buildings on the island that have?
A small pharmacy, yes, if you go past the bridge, the first building to your right has a little pharmacy.
Oh, on Paton or?
Yeah.
Oh,
The first white building on the corner after the bridge.
Oh, okay. Thank you. For middle class, to some degree. Pharmacy. Cat Island, but I think it's kind of odd to have it put up to live here, especially though it's a convenience store where they do obviously the presence of civil segregation. It's not terribly surprising. So it's nighttime, and well, very late at night. More specifically, it's 3:38 a.m. on June 1st. Yep. So yes, I wait a while to actually get going back to the islands, mainly because well, one, I was just charging my devices again, but also I decided to just, since I'm in Wi-Fi at, well, this plaza, I decided to listen to some music, and then just because okay, so I decided to watch a movie on YouTube because about a week or so ago, this film popped back into my mind as a bit of just on-the-spot nostalgia, I guess. I don't know what triggered reminiscing memories of it, but I suddenly remembered the 2008, either 2008 or 2007, but I'm fairly sure it's 2008, direct to DVD and frequently run on the Disney Channel Halloween special film, mostly ghostly, Who Let the Ghosts Out? Which was apparently adapted from a book series, or the first book in a series by author R.L. Stine, the children's horror author. And I don't know why, but tonight I was just like, you know what? I put this off long enough. I want to actually see it and I want to actually go look over if it's genuinely how I remember it. Because that film genuinely terrified me as a child. I mean it. More so, not conceptually at all. Well, yeah, even as a child, I don't recall being like terrified of it conceptually, but in terms of the practical effects and the makeup work for the ghosts and the ghouls in the film, it is damn terrifying, especially for something that's, well, a film that wasn't marketed as being more of a children's ghost story film. Technically, I don't know if it would count as horror, but well, if it was, a very, very terms of makeup, well, prosthetics, very terrifying from a children's horror film. I'd say it's, well, obviously, I think Coraline, which came out 2 years later. Okay, after rewatching it, it's in terms of story writing, it's it's fine enough at points. There are bits where the actual, well, where the writing is clunky, and at least in my opinion, and the screenwriting, for the most part, the screenwriting is very damn good. It's genuinely, there are some pretty hilarious jokes in the film. The directing, though, is also, it's, at points, it's really iffy, and there's a lot of very, poorly delivered line reading from the actors at certain intervals. So story-wise, it's not anything fantastic. Much prefer Coraline as a children's horror-themed film. It's far, far better of a film, as far as I'm concerned. But in terms of the makeup and effects, still damn terrifying. Even to this day, at least as far as my opinion goes, it's yeah, those effects are very, very interesting. So yeah, I just decided to, and I actually noticed a reference in that film, which I checked the comments section because someone had uploaded the full film to YouTube, and no one I could find actually noticed this reference, other than me. Well, I'm sure someone else did, but no one who commented seemed to. There's a reference in there to H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu universe. There actually is. On the back, so in one scene, there are these characters who are children who are ghosts, and then so their parents were apparently paranormal psychologists. That's an interesting field of work, but anyway, so their parents were like these well-known paranormal investigator figures who wrote a book that apparently the mother of the main character of the film finds and gives to the main character, and then they just set it down on a table in one scene, and it zooms in on the back to show the children who are now ghosts and their parents, and I know, and even though like you couldn't really see too well, I took notice of the writing on the back of the actual book, where it was giving like a description of the authors and things of the sort, fictional, obviously, and it said on there, and I gotta commend this direct-to-DVD. I gotta commend, at least, okay, it's very clear that the directors, and I would say the writers for the most part, they genuinely did try to make a well enough adaptation, it seemed, to I guess, or at least they put, obviously I haven't read R.L. Stine's mostly ghostly series, so I don't know how accurate it is to it, but they genuinely put in effort, clearly, to detail of at the very least the production of the film, with whatever they had and what they used for it, but one way or another they clearly had passion behind it. And I know this as well because they put a reference in there to H.P. Lovecraft's universe. It said these authors studied at Miskatonic University, and they went on to publish whatever else about paranormal activity. So, and for those of you who don't know, Miskatonic University is a fictional university in the town, I think it's in the American state of Massachusetts. in the northeastern portion of the United States. It's a fictional university in the fictional town of Arkham within the Cthulhu universe. So, I just thought that was a nice little detail, a nice little touch. But anyway, yeah, I spent the last hour and a half doing that. And then the night just carried on. But as promised, I am going to go back to the islands and see about trying to actually enter the shoreline area. So, yeah. I don't think, given the hour, maybe I won't walk if I can, maybe I won't walk the entire perimeter of it. But, well, we'll see what happens. At the very least, I'm going to take you through, as I'm walking down towards it, just take you through the main area here of Plage-Mon-Repos. God, I keep saying that wrong. Plage-Mon-Repos, the neighborhood that's in this part of St. Martin, and talk a bit more about it. So, yeah, alright, let's get going back there. Okay, you can just kind of see some of the condos on, I believe that would be Tremblay Island from over here, but, okay. Let's get moving that way. So, I mentioned in the first few clips I shot yesterday that in terms of the main business hub of the St. Martin district here in Laval, the community is majority Arab, large portion of Hispanic people who live here, Black. There's apparently also a large Armenian populace in the area too. A portion of Turks, and a high number of those of Portuguese descent. And I also, in terms of spiritual belief, religion-wise, majority of, it's predominantly Muslim, and also runner-up for, Islam. And in terms of religion, Islam's runner-up would be Christianity, from what I've noticed. But as well as that, I talked about how, yes, there are also a portion of Quebecois who are of mainly lower income in the area, for the most part, up towards the center of the district, and in most of the Chomedy neighborhood, but as well as those of Anglo-Saxon descent and English-speaking, predominantly, as their native language. And I've noticed this even in St. Rose. I noticed in the much more impoverished areas of the city that there's a higher populace of those who are of Anglo-Saxon descent, or even Scottish Celtic descent. So just mainly of general, British descent, and predominantly English speaking. And I found that interesting because if you saw my video of when I had made it to the village of Montebello, Quebec, and I had dinner with those lovely, lovely, nice people who, in terms of, well, who picked me up, they were meeting family members of theirs. And, well, they had told me that in specifically Montreal, but I guess generally could apply to, well, the entirety of the greater Montreal area, that there are certain portions of districts that are mainly English speaking or have a high English populace, English speaking populace in them. And since being here in Laval, I became more curious in finding out a bit more in relation to that, especially noticing how majority seem to be in the lower income communities, which, why I'm interested in that is because of, well, in what I've researched and from living in Ontario, what I've seen of, well, Canadian society, obviously it's, well, as far as I'm concerned, a white power structure civilization. And did I walk the wrong way? Yes, I did. Damn it all. Yeah, shit, this is a court. Walked the wrong damn way. Okay. Back around we go. Anyway, so it's a, in terms of high-end political power, it's a white dominant society. And sadly culturally as well in that regard, despite the pushing of performative multiculturalism by neoliberal fascists. But anyway, the reason why I found that interesting is because, well, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of economic benefit and cultural expression and traditional practice and basically freedom of harassment to some degree or another, well, white privilege, as far as I'm concerned, prevails across Canada. And from what I've seen and done my own investigations of, prevails in, it's ironically not particularly discriminatory towards, well, just those of European descent, whether they be, well, of a specific white ethnic group or not. But here in Quebec, from what I've researched, it seems to be rather different. So when I was in Gatineau, I already talked about the previous and lasting, to this day, racial tensions, the ethno-cultural issues between Quebecois Canadians and non-Quebecois Canadians. And, well, a bit of a history. It was in I talked about it in Exploring Gatineau Part 3. Yes, Part 3. And, well, it's the right way? Yeah, it is. basically, from what I've seen here, during the time of, and this obviously correlates to my research because I wasn't alive at this time, during the time of the mass separatist movements in Quebec, back in the mid to late 1980s to early 1990s, well, obviously, there was a lot of nationalistic sentiment towards, well, being of Quebecois descent. And actually, just take a quick notice here. So, as you can tell, there's a bit of hydro malfunction, but this is, especially in terms of these apartments here, a very much low-income portion of Plage-Mon-Repos, with a bit of what could be considered, I guess, more standardized housing units. But, oh, well, nope, I thought it had gone. Guess not. So anyway, in relation to this, nearing the end, from what I know of my history of it, nearing the end of the dying down of separatist sentiment in Quebec to a mass extent among most of its major populace, a lot of the various other provincial governments and the federal government were very much keen to, well, how should I put this, cater to the Quebec provincial government's wishes in terms of negotiation for agreeing that they don't separate from Canada's geographical territory and become a sovereign, independent state. Okay, just quick heads up. Going down here now, you'll probably start to notice an uptick in property maintenance as we get closer to the islands. So, in this regard, as far as I'm concerned, the federal government has given a lot of leeway, obviously, as they do, to the elites, the corporate enterprises of Quebec, just as they do to corporate elites of various other parts of Canada, wholeheartedly. Or, well, obviously, many of said politicians are a part of the elitist factions. But, anyway, in regards to Quebec, it's very much apparent that majority of, well, said elite groups, in terms of financial income, are of white Quebecois heritage and culture. Though, in this regard, here in the province, there is heavy, from what I've noticed, heavy suppression of Anglo-Saxon and Irish or Scottish culture, as well as, well, Portuguese culture and Spanish culture. Basically, it almost acts in reverse to the subjugation of the rest of Canada. And I don't doubt to some degree that it's another, well, similarly reverse for those of Quebecois heritage in various other provinces and territories of Canada, where they are placed into mass financial disparity and cultural degradation for being of Quebecois descent. I don't doubt that that absolutely exists as well and persists. But it's very clear, obviously, the federal government, for every province and territory, they really only care to appease those of the corporate sector that resource-wise dominate and control the world, and in turn those who are of governmental, well, entities within the provinces that are also members of elitist factions that, well, meet to some, for, well, certain political ideological rings, meet the quota of the general populace to some degree, or what would be considered favorable, more so, to the general populace, at least as far as I'm concerned. Okay, we are back on Tremblay Island. I have to say, it's very peaceful in the early morning, given that it's now 4:05. I think in relation to what I'm talking about here, I'll state again that, oh, here's another, well, I'm going to state this, but in relation to this as well, what I was about to state. So, however, in a bit of a, in not just a cultural sense, what's expected of, say, members living within Quebec's, resident members living within Quebec's borders, or those who are Quebecois and speak Quebecois French, on just a general cultural level, and in terms very clearly of governmental policy, because this is actually implemented to some degree here in Quebec, but not in other parts of Canada, which is very, very unfair and very, well, very biased. And that is that for certain businesses here in Quebec, it is required that all employees speak some amount of English. some amount of, well, I'm assuming probably most likely would be considered standard Canadian English, but I'm sure just any variant or dialect of English would count fine enough to some degree. But it's it's required for businesses to be bilingual here in the province of Quebec. Now you might be thinking, for those of you who know anything about Canadian societal dynamics, you might be thinking, well, Cam, that's also a requirement for businesses in other provinces and territories. It is required that businesses have bilingual options. No, it's not. I'm sorry to break this to you, but the reality is, that notion that it's required by law, well, that's a very it's a very finicky law there. That's a very, at least in terms of enforcement, yeah, that's a very finicky law for other provinces and the territories, at least from what I've researched and from what I've experienced being in, well, Ontario and now Quebec, but also from what I can recall of travels in my past to that even somewhat in Manitoba for the short time that I've traveled to that province when I was way younger. But basically, so here's an issue, a very big issue. Here in Quebec, it's very clear that it is legally enforced that to be hired on as an employee for certain positions, and well, I say certain, but for many companies that constitutes as all positions or a large quantity of positions that are, well, operated by business or that are provided. It's very clear that it's enforced, not just, and I'm not just speaking in a private policy in terms of the businesses' policies, but I'm talking in terms of governmental policy. It's required that employees speak or know English and Quebecois French. Well, okay, reverse here, Quebecois French and English. However, that so-called the idea that other provinces and the territories have the same requirements for the private sector, that's not true. And if it is, in terms of most provincial and territorial systematic enforcement, well, it's not enforced. It's not an enforced law at all. It's very lax, because if you go, let's go with, well, the one I've firsthand experienced, Ontario. If you go to any mega corporate branch, or even say just a local small business within your town or major city, like say Toronto in Ontario or Oshawa, I guarantee you, if you try to speak Quebecois French, most employees are not going to know it. They're not going to be able to speak a lick of Quebecois French. It's, even if they've taken, because this is systemically regulated through the educational system, nationwide that students learn, well, students in all provinces and territories that aren't Quebec, that they learn Québécois French from starting at 4th grade and up, and then you have the choice to switch out of it in high school. And here in Quebec, it's the opposite. You take English lessons from I think it might be 4th or 5th grade, and then up, and then high school, and I'm pretty sure you have the choice as well to opt out of it. But point being, even with that, there's a majority of people who don't, obviously, there are students who don't care enough to pay attention to the classes. As far as I'm concerned, the classes are horrendous anyway, in terms of, well, my gripes with the educational system, as it serves as stupefaction of beneficial human, well, community interactions, and also in terms of relating to Québécois French. Well, in terms of Québécois culture, a lot of it seems now very ignorant. But anyway, point being, most people, I would say, on average, they know maybe a little bit of Québécois French, a small bit, in, let's say, Ontario. But most businesses will not make it a requirement for their employees in terms of hiring on that well, they won't follow the regulated law of the, I'm not even going to put that in quotations, it's not regulated, the non-regulated law that's stated basically that you need a bilingual business operation. They won't. They'll just hire you if you, well, depending on what the employer is looking for, I guess, or if they see you as a valuable asset, or whatever else, they'll hire you on, regardless of being able to be bilingual. But in terms of non-Québécois cultural prejudice and racism in that regard, well, obviously be biased most often towards English speaking in the predominantly English speaking provinces. But however, here in Quebec, and I feel this may have to do with its high, in terms of Montreal, high amounts of tourism from domestic travelers within Canada. It is required that, and it is very clearly here in the province of Quebec, it's a very clearly enforced, the law, that employees be bilingual very heavily. And that's the very unfair and very disruptive part, as far as I'm concerned. I think that the provincial government of Quebec enforcing Québécois people, the working class, or anyone of any business operation, even the CEOs and high-end executives, forcing them to basically be bilingual or know some amount of English to actually obtain employment, a stable income, to some degree, is completely unethical as far as I'm concerned. And the fact that a majority of the rest of Canada, other provinces, because again, I've even looked this up and I've talked to people from various parts of Canada and gotten into discussions in my past about, well, Quebec and Quebecois French, and others will most likely tell you as well that, well, other parts of the country, again, it's laxed. It's very laxed in terms of the so-called bilingual business policy. But here it isn't, and I think that's completely unfair. Now, in that regard, no, I am not at all morally for policing in that regard at all, one, and two, for specifically in this regard towards forcing the speaking of a language that you either, whether you know said language or not, if you have no comprehension of it in terms of being able to communicate with it. Because, as far as I'm concerned, it's your human right to speak your native-born language. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's a form of communication that you've developed with your with those of your initial surrounding environment to actually be able to articulate and vocalize and express feelings and emotions and opinions and, well, idea, just all around express, well, well, everything I just listed. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. To another human being. And in this regard, you should not be forced to speak a language, as far as I'm concerned, for employment. At all. I don't want the other provinces and territories to governmentally crack down more heavily on enforcement of the bilingual policy. No, I want that absolved, and I want that also I want that policy also abolished for Quebec. I don't want the Quebec government to legally, rigorously enforce that those of, well, working labor speak bilingual communication at all, because I think it's completely dehumanizing, one, because you're expecting okay, you cannot learn a language off the top of your head. I'm just gonna say that right now. Neurologically, we have in our frontal cortexes the neural ability for comprehension and understanding of language capacity and word and semantic memory and conceptual knowledge. And that's in relation to, well, Noam Chomsky's theory of universal grammar, which I absolutely believe. But no, speaking of him, I'll talk about him in a bit, because he's been in the news somewhat recently. But anyway, we have the inherent capacity neurologically for the formation and understanding of language, but it's not something that's like a light switch that's unless you've learnt another language, more than one, in terms of memorization and study, to be able to fluidly communicate in it to some degree, well, okay, then people can often switch back and forth, no problem. But in terms of never having experienced practicing or learning a specific language and then being asked to just speak it, that's not how it works. You can't just pull knowledge of a communication device out of your ass. You can't. And as far as I'm concerned, it's completely racist to think so. But anyway, so in that regard, no. Bottom line is, no one should be forced to speak Quebecois French in Quebec. No one should be forced to speak English outside of Quebec, as far as I'm concerned. Now, you might be also thinking, well, Cam, but isn't people knowing, for you, isn't it very beneficial to you for people knowing bilingual communication here in your situation? You're predominantly English-speaking Canadian American, but person from Canada, and, well, you don't know much Quebecois French, as you've said before. So isn't this very convenient for you? Yes, it is. But that doesn't matter shit as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it might be more convenient for me, but as far as I'm concerned, that's a very unfair privilege of mine. I'm privileged to the fact that, well, sadly, people are pretty well forced here, to some degree, to actually have a knowledge of basic English skills over their native language of Quebecois French, which I'm not for, and so I don't care, or I don't abide that it's more convenient for me. I would rather be lost in translation and have to communicate non-verbally, or find another method of communication with people here in Quebec, rather than just have them unfairly be forced to have knowledge of my language and then speak it and switch it for me. Yeah, it's convenient, but sadly, as far as I'm concerned, that doesn't ultimately matter in the realms of, well, at least as far as my morality goes right now. But anyway, I thought I should just rant about that. Okay, I want to actually, let me just get over to the other end of the island. I know I took the longer way around. Let's just see if I can actually find a place to try and, well, get onto the shoreline from. Okay, so, oh. I hear a vehicle approaching. Okay. So, there is this little divot here, and path that just goes down to the little beach portion of the island here, just below the connecting bridge of Paton Island to Jesus Island. And if I can, try to look out this way, I might be able to sneak through the trees here and actually, well, at the very least get behind that condo building. So, let's give it a shot. Okay. Well, mission failed. Yeah, okay, so, fuck that. Alright, so what happened was, I went through this little brush area, went up along the crest of it a bit, then down towards the more rock bed area there by the water. I got slapped with branches, got eaten alive by a plethora of mosquitoes, and got cobwebs all across my face. So I eventually turned around, said, yeah, fuck that. Considering as well, once I got to this, close to this little tree that's hanging out with its roots there at that point of the riverbed. It didn't look like there was any way for me to actually get around it in a safe enough way, that is, and then continue my path along, try and get to the back end of these condos. I mean, the only reason I wanted to actually go behind here and showcase it was also that you could all get a better view, and I could get a better view of, well, the amenities, the yard amenities that, well, these ultra-rich, oh my god, ultra-rich folk have in these condos. Look at them all. Can you see them all? I don't know if you can see, but there's just a swarm of mosquitoes right here. I'm gonna move past that. Okay. But instead, you know what? I'm gonna go back to my campsite, check on it, and then after that, I'll take you around just this portion of the neighborhood that's a part of, well, clearly owned up by Paton Inc. And whatever other contracting companies, developers built the residential homes. Well, I'll take you around through this area that's owned up by them. And then, given that it's early in the morning, I'll go back around to the other end of the park and showcase that side of the very wealthy portion of this neighborhood. And you know, while I'm back in the woods there, might as well jerk off. Why not? It has been a very interesting day, and I am needing some physical and emotional relief. So, why not? And you're still broken. This public fountain has been malfunctioning and dispersing a whole overflow of water for the past 3 days. It's come very convenient though for washing my hands, in terms of just slightly soaking them up. But you know what, I'm running low on water, so I might as well just fill up the bottles I've been collecting again. Alright, well, everything still seems to be in order, just as I left it. But, well, after I go get something to eat today, I'm gonna come back and pack up and head on out of here. And just get on moving to St. Dorothy. But I'll just, at the very least, because, well, this is the closest to a back entrance to these high-end luxury residential buildings I can get. And one of the reasons I wanted to showcase, well, the properties of these condos from the backside is because as I was walking along Isle Paton, and from an aerial view, when I looked on Google Maps, it's very clear that something that's very popular in this area, on the islands at least, amongst the ultra-rich, and is very much another form of pseudo-segregation, is that of, well, backyard what's a good word for them? Landform terraces, I guess I'll call them. Basically what I mean is, you can even, in portions of the video, I'm sure you could see it as well, they're visible, the same structural formation is visible from the front of the buildings. They have it in their front yards. Basically, it seems that the development companies that built up the actual properties of the condos, well, they either put in when it was initially built or added on elevated courtyards, basically, with dirt-filled land formations surrounded by stone and concrete walls, basically. Well, from the ground view, they're walls. Something similar to this. But they're actually, well, for walking on the grounds. Instead of just using the back end of the property in terms of the actual physical island at the shoreline as their, well, backyard property. So, well, the nice tenant of this apartment building, who I visited earlier today, or took a walk through the lower half of the deck with, wasn't kidding that people around here are very, very private. Very much for seclusion and shying away from genuine human contact. Now, I'm not exactly gonna go onto the grounds here. I could go through the fence, but you know what? They have spotlights, and I'm not really looking to get arrested for trespassing this morning. But, well, noticed that a couple of days ago. Looks like somebody's already beat me to it in terms of explorations. And they clearly are disgruntled with the place. Probably just as much or even more to some degree than I am. Alright. Will you, God, you're really in there searching for tasty blood nutrients, aren't you? Look, I'm more than happy to share my blood, but if you could actually just quickly find a blood vessel or an artery without poking around constantly and getting your saliva, which is what causes most of the irritation to human skin, all over my innards, please, my inner epidermis. Are you actually sucking the blood? Oh Christ, I can handle... No, you know what, you guys get away. I'll handle one of you at a time. Just shoo, please. I'm not smacking you. Hurry up, please, and suck the blood. Come on. I can never get you in... Can't get insects in focus. Worse than the spider. There you go. Oh, for Christ's sakes. Focus! Good Lord. Okay, maybe if I zoom in. Does that work? Somewhat. Are you done? Oh, you're gonna burst yourself, Mama. You're a mother mosquito. Come on. Yep, you're done. And there you go. Owie. That actually hurt when you pulled your... you pulled your spout out. Yes, that's an interesting fact for anyone who doesn't know, I guess. In etymology, only female mosquitoes suck blood. They use it to produce nutrients and feed the growing eggs in their, well, wherever they keep the forming egg vessels or egg cells within their bodies. Male mosquitoes only drink nectar, and they're a lot larger than the females. They're often confused with mosquito hawks, which are a mosquito-looking insect that are giant and eat mosquitoes. They have much longer legs as well. So yeah. And also, I think in terms of the North America, well, whatever these mosquitoes that are common here in Canada, which are also common in a lot of most of the North American continent, I think the male versions of this species, or this genus of mosquito, are more of a bluish color, whereas these ones are more of a beigeish brown color, the females. But yeah, so male mosquitoes only drink nectar. I just wish they were more commonly found than the damn females. Sorry to be sexist there to the insects, but, well, when you're constantly jabbing at me like a vampire with a kitchen knife, it's not exactly a fun experience.
Well, you're a rare minority to see. I actually don't think I've ever seen white goose in person. I've seen geese that look beigeish, that weren't, well, this breed of goose. Yeah, I've never seen a white goose before. Only these black and white ones, and, well, brownish Canadian geese. I actually don't know if you're probably not a Canadian goose. Oh, what happened to your... Oh. Looks like your wing is injured. No. I hope that heals up fine enough. Well, at the very least you can paddle through the river. But if not, I guess you'll have to get used to walking. Kinda like me.
Oh, okay. I'm going to get moving to the area that I want to get to film the last few clips, because just looked at the forecast and it's calling for some amount of severe thunderstorms. And looking upward, those are a lot of cumulonimbus clouds. They're not looking too friendly. Okay. Oh, dear Christ. Oh, come on. Oh, storms of ruin. Whoa. Okay, you know what? That wasn't me, but I'm happy to help. Okay. 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 Fuck me. Oh, I need to get my things. Okay, hold on a sec. Okay, alright. Let me go. You'll be safe, you'll be protected from wind and water. Get in. Jesus. Well, this isn't true fucking global warming, I don't know what is. It's coming from massive heat waves. Very, very unpleasant downpour of water.
one more day. Yeah. The sun, what remained of the sun and the heat was fading fast. During how dry it's been the last few days, but not. Okay, some regard, yeah. Seems to be good for me. Oxygenation, providing me with air to breathe. But in the context of being rent, got so much. Here's the ball. From the rain. Let's see. Stick bridge. Someone made a nice bridge. Let's be careful. Hey, Carter B, how you doing? Nice? Bored? I don't care. At the very least, let's get most of you under cover of the car. Keep swallowing butts. Well, at least you'll get a shower to wash you off. I may need you to. Go. Go. Please. Ow. Open up. Okay, what first? You. Get out. Oh, come on. normally heated seating. Wall of rain. In. Come on. Fuck. I'm sorry. I don't know where you go. I have you guys crawling around in me at this time. Cooperate, please. Okay, good. Enough. On top of this. I'm probably gonna need it. I don't have issues. Completely inside. And after, you're going getting the toilet. You got completely damaged last time. Get down. Get jiggy with it. Get in whatever the hell you have to do. Fine. I say that now, and it's probably going to turn very not fine very soon. Okay, and you can move in here. No. Right? Shut. Thank you very much, Ted. Great service. Clarifying habit. I appreciate you very much. However, I don't value your input in terms of opinion. So, I have no clue what I'm talking about by this point. Just bear with me. If my phone's still fucking recording. Up. Okay. Here we go. Nope. What? Further down. Thank you very much. I said further down. Thank you very much. Oh, hello, little caterpillar. I'm sorry. I have to grab you. I don't want to hurt you. Whoa, 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 whoa. I don't want you to have a seat here either. Here, go on this little... Please. 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 Come on. Come on. Please. There you go. Oh, fuck me! Are you okay? Oh, thank God you're okay. Alright, I just kicked them off said tree. Or little bush, branch, shrub. I'm very sorry. Oh. Okay. And also, if you're wondering why I'm also rushing, and seem like I'm fretting a bit too much, well, I don't know if you can see, but this area is very marshy. And, well, not only the fact that there's most likely going to be lightning, I want to get this out of here, and I don't want it to get drenched, then yes, it's a metal wagon, Cardi B here. But, yeah, even though I know this area definitely does not regularly flood, something tells me a large downpour of water might do the trick, to some degree. So, yeah, I'm not being here when that happens. And I don't want my... Fuck me, the lock. Okay, come on, off you get. Oh, come on, up, stop. Yeah, good, there. Okay. Right, yeah. Okay. Wait. Okay. One. And you're in. Don't step on that. We've gotten mostly free showers from business establishments, but you know what? A natural one would be nice to experience, given how dirty I've gotten from sweat and heat. Get off! Okay, come on. Oh my God. Okay. You're gonna be an asshole. Okay, not so much. There we go. Okay, come on. Alright, everything's in. Let's close it up and go. Ah, yeah. Fucker. Ow! Okay. Screw you, brain. Okay. In you go. Come on. In you go. Good luck. one more time. Good. Now, Cardi B, thank you for being so patient, but kindly move your ass. Now, go, 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 go. Okay. Thank you. All right. Let's get a move on. It's been nice. Little forest swamp path next to the elitist, corrupt Hugh Paton residencies, but I bid you adieu. Whoa, 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 party, okay. We're up there. Start. Come on. Yep, you can do it. Very good. Here. Okay. Good. Okay. Cloud of rain falling on the walls. So, isn't it cold? Hasn't arrived fully yet. It's dripping. With a slightly less hope, it's kind of a hope storm. Seems like a cloud structure. Excuse me. Just kind of grazes over the southern half of Laval. You know, just narrowly misses Plage-Mon-Repos. Mosquitoes still are growing up. Manic. I'm not fighting the field, and I'm not here to cause you harm. Please just move kindly. I don't want to get into like a little pissy fit with you. Oh God, you have these things. Okay, I'm sorry. The river will harm you. Well, all right, good, great. Okay. Oh, okay, actually, maybe it is just gonna narrowly miss the southern half of the island. Cloud formations are changing here. Okay, good. be safe. We'll go along here. See if there's any place. Restaurant establishments or any sort of convenience stores I can just stand in. Maybe just get downpour. Oh, you are still on. I'll figure out what to do. Alright, I'm just gonna give a quick little view of this portion of the neighborhood right beside the park on the opposite end of the complex. Yeah, it's just as luxurious as you were probably guessing. Filled to the brim with pristinely kept gardens and fucking I believe ancient Greek style statues, because they think it makes them look prestigious. And oh yeah, just a bunch of flashy cars too. So okay, I'm gonna try and just get up to, well, Levski West Road, going down this way, and then yeah, just do something there. I don't know. Well, that's an interesting difference. Well, that was an interesting little evening. So, long story short, I got up to Levski West Road with Cardi B, and it was just about to start coming down heavily, as it definitely was towards the downtown area of the city, I could see. But then the storm clouds started slowly moving further to the west, I guess the northwest, and it did actually, as I said, narrowly miss. Just only slightly drizzled down on the Plage-Mon-Repos neighborhood. So, that's good. And idiotic me, I didn't realize, as I was going up to that road to see if there was any place that I could just stay for maybe an hour or two to let the storm pass by. And then it occurred to me, the park has stone bleachers that are completely open underneath on their backsides. Just on the opposite end of this side of the park. Clever boy. But, anyway, I got something further to eat, and then, well, I saved the rest for tomorrow. And, well, I'm just gonna make my way now through the earlier portion of the night, just to St. Dorothy. But just before I sign off, because, well, it's just a bit more I wanted to cover. I'm not gonna have time to do so in depth, but, well, whatever. In terms of what I noticed as well, aesthetically, among most of the residents of the two islands down there, I took notice of the fact that a lot of them were wearing mainly, well, a lot of what would be associated to white European ultra-rich fashion attire, ideological, culturally, as far as I'm concerned, but as well as things that are very reminiscent to some degree, or have very clearly a
LGBTQ plus inspired thematics to them, or aesthetics, as well as certain jewelry designs, or, well, jewelry positioning on their bodies that are very clearly also inspired by Black cultural design. Not a whole lot, but a certain amount. And I find that interesting, considering the fact most of, I guarantee, the residents of those condos back there, and this apartment complex right beside me here, most definitely have ties to very high mega corporations that, well, performatively exploit the cultures of various other demographics, including those two. And to some extent, it could be because of over-exotification of other demographics for those specific things. And in that regard, cultural appropriation, but also it could be, okay, as far as I'm concerned, most, obviously, elites, many of them, most of them, I would say, as I would say, a large quantity of the human race at the moment suffers from histrionic personality disorder. Well, very clearly, especially, well, considering the entire locale over there, they very much care about keeping up appearances. So, I don't doubt, to some degree, many are closeted. Homosexuals, bisexuals, pansexuals, androsexuals, gynosexuals, omnisexuals, the rest. I don't doubt it, and as well as in terms of gender identity and persona expression, I wouldn't doubt that there are many of those who are latent trans or non-binary. But, or in that regard, there could be, which is also very possible considering, well, mega corporations are getting in on partaking in performative activism in much more recent years. Maybe there are those who are actually, well, openly, who aren't heterosexual and are gay or lesbian or bi or all the rest. And, well, they have adopted the, well, ideals of their oppressors in, as far as I'm concerned, psychology, what I would call internalized sexuality stigma, internalized homophobia, internalized biphobia, panphobia, etc. Given the fact that, most definitely considering the majority are also higher class Quebecois, they absolutely, in terms of those who are affiliated to mega corporate conglomerates, especially in regards to businesses here in the province of Quebec, well, they absolutely commodify their own culture for the purposes of a lavish lifestyle and very much anti-socialization, just to seclude themselves from the so-called troublesome others of society. But anyway, that's just something I wanted to close off on. Oh, and I know I said this at the beginning of the video, but 67 novellas. Now it's going to be 67 books I'm trying to write. I think this will be the last one. This one, the one I just thought up the concept for, it's non-fiction, educational again. So, yeah. Oh, and just before going, I actually want to point these out. So, these swing designs, I've come to notice, are common all throughout Quebec. Not just in certain areas. These flat swing designs, which weren't common at all in Ontario. And I'm pretty sure, in terms of Quebecois culture, this is a design, just in terms of, well, park structuring, that is influenced by, very much by Western European culture in terms of, you know, say like garden style, French garden style, or what you may see in, I guess, Belgian gardens as well, swing designs, and Dutch too. The wooden plank as a swing with some ropes holding the actual seat up, that often you may see like children of a family just playing in the garden and swinging on said swing, something that's built out of, well, some amount of scrap, but I guess those would be the common materials for it. I've noticed that just that design seems to be the go-to for swing designs here in the province at various playgrounds, and I'm not complaining at all. At first I did, because I had found it a little, well, there was a swing set that I went to in the Chute that well, it wasn't, I'll say these are better made swings than that one. Well, so I guess I was slightly complaining, but not really, I guess, anymore, just about the design. Okay. I'm going to get going. See you around. Person. Oh, and just for good measure, here's a bit of a closer look at these fucking stupid apartments, which are either owned up by, or at the very least have a brand partnership with Hugh Paton, or Paton Inc., as these apartments are called Village de Little Paton. So I'm pretty sure that stands for Little Paton. Oh, and interestingly enough, these guys, at the very least these two apartments, have their own private bus units. Yeah, the transport buses like that. Not near as big as that, but they look like, I saw it on the main boulevard coming down this way. It was branded by these guys. It was a very dark blue, and it was the shape of a small standard North American school bus, like a mini school bus. Okay. Nighty night.